The information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. We do not aim to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease, and you should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment, and the information in this presentation has not been evaluated by the FDA or any other medical body. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Doreen Arbo. For those of you who don't know me, I am a clinical researcher and an author of several books. So welcome to our Tuesday call with Clayton Thomas, who is the founder of Root. I see that there's some new faces and of course some familiar ones as well, but Clayton has over 25 years of experience in the health and wellness industry, and for 18 years he's been focused on detoxification and supplementation formulations. A simple philosophy, cure the cause. Hello Clayton, and welcome to the call. You know, you've been doing this for 18 years, so I have to change your slide up a little bit.
I know, that's a long time.
It's not 16 years now. It was 16 when we started.
I think if we start with 16 and we just call it good, that way it doesn't look like I'm aging.
Okay.
I've been doing this for a little bit.
Yeah.
So today we get to share a little bit of that because you get to take a break because you've been a little fatigued and tired, and well, you should be able to take a break every once in a while.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and, okay, so here's what I prepared for you, just to help you. We're going to talk about the Fantastic Five.
All right.
That's our products, the Fantastic Five. And then we'll
Did you take the Flash because of Christina's shirt in Ethiopia, and that Flash was actually my favorite comic book character growing up because he was fast and I was fast?
I just did it because I felt compelled to do it this way.
See, that's how it works when we're all in tune, when everyone's.
I know, and I like it. It just came to me, and it came to me in a flash.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, Fantastic Five." I was talking to Sandy. I go, "Oh, we got 5 products. Oh, Fantastic Five. I'm going to make something up real quick." Okay, so let's start off.
Not only did Christina go to Ethiopia, she is in Ethiopia right now. They're getting ready to leave. Actually, they should be leaving.
She should be on the plane.
Yeah, she is on the plane right now because their flight should have taken off 8 minutes ago.
Right.
And you know, it's amazing how we continue to expand the Root-averse.
The Root-averse. Write that down, Claire. The Root-averse.
I like that.
That's my line. I
Okay.
have to make sure it's been trademarked. You can't steal my line.
I put the TM on it for you.
You know, it's funny that you have, you know, everyone's talking about the metaverse and all this stuff now. I'm like, we have the Root-averse, and I think the Root-averse have more influence than the metaverse.
The Rooters and the Rootiverse.
Right. So
let's start with the foundational products, Clayton.
Really, I think that it is really the core. And I love, you have some of the best imagery, and I love stacking rocks, actually.
Well, that's a big thing here in Norway. And I think in the UK too. Don't you guys, stack rocks?
Work of art.
We stack rocks wherever we walk, wherever we go. Put a rock.
A little symbolism is always good. I'm going to have some rocks stacked outside my office here. But really, you have the Trinity that is the foundation, and I think that the Trinity, you know, we've been taught in many aspects is the foundation that we should all have spiritually. So when we were putting things together, it's like, well, you have your spiritual Trinity, you also need your physical Trinity that also ties in with your spiritual Trinity. So with that, you know, as Dory was mentioning, my background, my experience over the last, 40 plus years, and since 2005, yep, that makes it 17 years, focused in really what is the foundation to wellness and human performance. And that's not the addition, not taking supplements, not lifestyle, not diet, not exercise, but really the process of removing what's causing all of the issues and what's been proven to be the cause of all of the issues. But then once you start that process, you know that there's no silver bullet, and you have to build around that to create, that Trinity, right? Because it only makes sense that things, we know that things work in threes, things come in threes. So you have that foundational component. So the first one is clean slate. And in order to do what Christina intended to do, it's not something that you do synthetically. We are both aware that nature and God would always provide and always has provided what we've needed from a humanity perspective, not when we wanted it, but when it was most needed, right? Solutions occur when the issue is of greatest need. And for the last 5,000 plus years, this amazing little crystal has been used in many different aspects. And when I say this crystal, I mean clinoptilolite. You'll hear people talk about the term zeolite in many different aspects. And talking about the term zeolite is like talking about the term vegetable, right? You don't hear people talking about the benefits of just vegetables. You hear people talking about the benefits of a specific vegetable. It could be kale, it could be lettuce, it could be tomatoes or fruits. So that throws that one out. But you have all of the cucumbers and what have you. You have to specialize or understand exactly what you're working with. But this amazing little crystal called clinoptilolite is probably the most powerful crystal on the planet, not just from what it does energetically, but what it does physically and what its attributes are and how it can be used. But what's been key is how this amazing little crystal can be processed. So this amazing little crystal has been used for water filtration, air filtration, soil remediation for millennia. It's also been used for human consumption in its powdered form. But it's limited in its use when just in its powdered form, because a lot of its greatest attributes aren't usable. And what I'll say but what Christina figured out how to do, and after I've been working with this crystal for 16 years, but as Dory said, now 17 years, because we are getting older, chronologically, biologically, at least everyone in the Rootverse isn't. She created a process that takes this amazing crystal and breaks it apart in a manner that has made it more bioavailable to act like little green garbage trucks to go into your system and scavenge and grab on to the bad guys, the heavy metals, the mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, aluminum, cesium, strontium, gadolinium, the viral fragments, some of the mold spores, the graphene, and other environmental toxins. Could be BPAs. I'm not going to go through all the list. Glyphosate is probably one of the most important. And I listened to a podcast. I have to thank Patrick for sending it to me this weekend. Aubrey Marcus and Zach Bush were on a podcast together, and Dr. Bush was going over glyphosate, the fact that it's water soluble and how horrific it is, and that 81% of the entire water supply on this planet is actually loaded with glyphosate.
Wow, you got to kind of have a double whammy there, because not only do you have glyphosate loaded with glyphosate, but you also combine that with fluoride
and everything else. So the crops, and this is the hard part for people to understand. And I was just on another training, and people were like, there's preservatives in clean slate. And they're like, yeah, so it doesn't grow mold. I'm like, yeah, but there's glyphosate in your freaking water. Which one's more important? And what people don't understand is there's this great push to have, organic food. Great. So they're not using pesticides to spray your food, but the water that they're using to spray your crops is already loaded with the pesticides that they're not spraying on there. We're way past the point of saying, okay, let's try to do this as good as possible in the environment. You have to be taking care of this environment because everything around us is too polluted at this point, and it's not going to change quickly. So clean slate is really that foundation to start to clean up the mess, but do it not just in a physical manner, but in an energetic manner, but at the same time that it is working to remove. Christina created a mechanism that allows it to also deliver some of the most important, crucial components for our bodily function, regeneration, and vitality, right? And that is orthosilicic acid with the combination of trace minerals and some ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid being naturally sourced vitamin C that is synthesized and processed into ascorbic acid. But the key two things are orthosilicic acid. And when you look at Clean Slate, and this is a fun part that a lot of people are trying to save themselves on, saying this product is not a zeolite product. You're right, it's not. It's more advanced than anything you've ever imagined in your life, because there's a woman that was put here that functions at a level of which we're all unfamiliar, because she's a biotech savant. She has a PhD and postdoctoral work in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering. There was only 20 people in that program at Harvard. They were either in research, biotech, or the military, and her. Clean Slate is a process that is born from a level of genius that is insanely rare. But she understood how to take nature and not how to synthesize, but how to amplify it. So the process she uses to break apart this crystal actually makes the bioavailable silica, the orthosilicic acid, available in the source of clinoptilolite that we use, which is actually not the source I have in front of me. This is actually 94% clino. The source we use is 97%. It's the purest clinoptilolite on the planet. It has 3% bentonite and is 66.7% silica. So if you create a process that breaks apart this cage structure, that breaks apart this rock, you're actually breaking it apart into its constituents, right? And if the constituents of that crystal, that rock, are sodium aluminosilicate, and 66.7% of it is silica, bioavailable silica, well, what are you doing? You're creating bioavailable silica with some other components. So when you look at the label of Clean Slate, you're going to see silicon dioxide, because that's what we're turning it into by breaking it apart. But we're also keeping these amazing cage structures that are able to bind and trap all of the toxic components. But at the same time, we're delivering the bioavailable silica, the trace minerals that we add into it. So we prevent all of the issues from detoxification that other methods actually have. And because of the polarization process and some of the other things that she does to this product, it amplifies the energetic signature and the quantum capability of what these little crystals do in the body. And we've proven that with heart rate variability and other forms of physics and blood work and other testing and tons of clinical case studies that now we've seen clinically are doing things that nothing else on the planet are actually capable of doing, and probably the most important things that humanity needs right now. At least that's what other doctors are saying based on the data that are a whole heck of a lot smarter than me. The second, and if you're not using this stuff, I will tell you, you're missing out on the greatest party your body's ever had. This little capsule, this golden capsule of greatness, is the key to you becoming the best version of you've ever wanted. How does it do it? It's really simple. Neurotransmission. And this goes along with Clean Slate in perfect companionship along with Restore. So I'm gonna bump back to a concept when I hit on Restore, right? Because Restore helps the gut become even more effective to allow Zero In to be even more beneficial. But what Zero In does is it's a combination of 5 actives and 2 catalysts, 7 ingredients. That's it, not a lot. You don't need the 50 greatest things that you've ever heard of, right? Because if you understand pharmacology, you don't need a lot. What you need are the right components in the right amounts to be combined properly to create a specific reaction in the body. So what Zero In does is it combines vitamin D and anhydrous caffeine. And wait for it. Some people are like, oh, you said the C word. I did. I said caffeine. But here's something that's really important to understand. Anhydrous caffeine. Anhydrous caffeine does not come from the coffee bean. It actually comes from the leaf. It's an extract from the leaf of the plant that gives you a different version of caffeine. And when dehydrated into its powdered form, it does some different things. It's not the same. What anhydrous caffeine does is it acts as a catalyst for dopamine production, an agonist. But it also serves as a dopamine buffer, which means you don't get too much of a dopamine spike. So when you take two catalysts and you combine that with theanine, tyrosine, mucuna pruriens, which is amazing velvet bean seed extract in its purest form, pine bark extract in its purest form, with a tremendous amount of PACs, which are proanthocyanidins. Don't worry about pronouncing it and spelling it properly, because I probably butchered it. As well as pure curcuminoids from turmeric, right? 95% pure curcuminoids. And you take these and you combine them in the perfect combination. It creates a little capsule that when you take one of these, it feeds your gut the ability to just produce dopamine and serotonin on demand. And when I say on demand, I mean in minutes, like 10 to 15.
Mhm.
But here's what's amazing about this. If you have the ability to produce dopamine and serotonin are the two most powerful neurotransmitters produced. And they are also the two primary neurotransmitters that create a cascade for the production of other neurotransmitters. So if you have the ability to do this, and you know that dopamine and serotonin make you feel good and function better, how much do you want and how long do you want that feeling for? One little pill you can take in the morning, you can take in the afternoon, you can take before exercise, and you can take right before bed. And here's the key, because this entire system, when fed properly, is completely adaptogenic. If you give your body the tools, your intention will dictate and control how those tools are used. If you give two people some nails, some wood, and some utensils, a hammer, one person might build a cabin. Another person might build an empire. Same materials, same tools, different intention. That's what this is providing you. If during the day you want to get going, you want to be relaxed, calm, alert, focused, crush everything, you're on it. If you want to do sports, you'll zone out. You probably won't fatigue. You will perform at a level of which you've never imagined. You'll feel better than you've probably ever felt before. And you'll absolutely kill it. If you want to do yoga, you want to meditate, you'll probably be more balanced and centered and relaxed and calm than you've ever been before, because you're just there. You're in the zone and your body's starting to align properly with all your doshas and chakras and everything else. But what's really intriguing of what we've found from a little bit of testing and experience, you take one of these capsules before bed and you put the intention into going to sleep. I will tell you, I should pull Ted in here because he finally did this last night. He's like, dude, I slept like I never imagined. And I got home last night. I got a bunch of stuff done. He said, I laid down and I put the intention into going to sleep and I was out in 2 minutes. He said, I don't do that. He said, this is amazing. Intend to go to sleep. Your body says, you've given me the tools. I'm out. And let's start dreaming. So you have one little capsule that does what entire industries are trying to sell you multiple products for. And if you're not playing with it, you haven't had the experience yet. And I would argue, even with our community right now, because I know how much of it we're selling, 90% of you have not had the experience that is possible because you're not using it properly. I'm telling you, the third part is restore. And this was the latter part of the Trinity, because it was the third one to come, because it took Christina more work to have this thing formulated. Actually, let me make sure I phrase this properly. It didn't take her long to formulate it. It took longer to have it produced because her original version was so strong it would stain your teeth. So
Not your pillow.
and yeah, now it just stains your pillow.
Yeah, exactly.
But what she took is she took some of nature's most powerful ingredients. And one of the things that she learned in biotech and when she was at Harvard studying nanotechnology and bioscience engineering was how to create nano emulsions. And one of the things that they were going over is nature creates nano emulsions, right? When you eat different foods in combination, they will actually mix together and create nano emulsions in your gut to improve delivery, which is part of the process, right? No one understands that. You actually have to study it. So she created this quantum nano emulsion delivery mechanism using the D-ribose, the resveratrol, the turmeric, the apple cider vinegar, the raspberry ketones, the black cumin seed oil. And Dory's done such a phenomenal job in the past of going over each one of these amazing little ingredients and what each of them is proven to do. But when you combine them together, we know that usually things are much greater as a sum of their parts than being individual. This is a combination that, one, there's no comparable product in the market because the primary manufacturer of all these gels and all of these products in this category comes from one primary place. Their scientists are absolutely amazing. That's who we work with. When we were there working with them to say, we want this and this and this, and she wants this, and their scientists are like, no one's ever done this before. No other company would put, one, this amount of active ingredients in one formula, two, this quantity of active ingredients in this formula, and this quality of active ingredients in one formula. And they're like, you know how expensive this is going to be? I'm like, yes, we do. And we're going to sell it for less than what anyone else sells any other products for, because it's not about just getting the money. It's about getting outcomes. There is nothing like this. This is probably the greatest gut bomb for killing off mold and fungus and parasites in the market. And the outcomes speak to it. I have to give a thanks to Dr. Norbert Keshkesh for the case studies that he's done.
Oh, yeah, so good.
And he, like myself, outkicked his coverage with who he married. Shout out to Dr. Keshkesh. So what you have in the three of these is a combination that when done individually, each of these products actually could make their own company, right? If we wanted to just look at straight marketing. But when you combine these together, they create an amalgamation of system upgrades that's never been done before. There's never been a combination of products that will systemically detoxify all of the bad stuff out of the system, help to reboot and regenerate and restore your gut, and then boost neurotransmission to allow your gut to start producing dopamine and serotonin in a natural way, at a level of which is not natural to us. We don't have the ability to do this on our own. And it is a complete upgrade. But much like you get in many infomercials, my wife has a long-term plan, and she's like, okay, we've got these three, but wait, there's more. How was that for a transition?
I love that.
So one of the things that was important for her in looking at this process was knowing that she knew that she needed to create something that wherever she was in the world, she could take with her. This includes the Trinity, but to create a combination of ingredients that you could live on, and it is going to help feed your system all of the key crucial stuff you need, that if it's all you had, you'd still be really good. And Relive, as we're finding, is this amazing combination of strategically combined ingredients that allows for better gut function, improved metabolic function, and a whole list of the stuff that Dory's put together. And there's a whole other YouTube piece that we did on this that you should watch to go along with this, because it'll blow you away. The amount of probiotics and prebiotics and fiber and greens and chlorella and spirulina and wheatgrass and barley grass, which are phenomenal for you, that are all glyphosate free. Thank God that when combined with cayenne pepper and MCT powder, you have a green system that is not only giving you all of the green good stuff, but it's also giving you some of the fats, and it's giving you some of the key metabolic converters that amplify metabolic function. So your system starts to run faster, meaning you burn more calories and you can burn stuff off, and they're anti-inflammatory. And when you're using Clean Slate, Zero In, and Restore, and you're scavenging the toxins that are stored in fat, you shrink because you lose inflammation like crazy. You don't lose fat. You lose the negative inflammation that plagues you. And you might have heard that inflammation is the cause of disease. That is a lie. Inflammation is the byproduct of you being a toxic cesspool that is the reason you are diseased. If you address that and you start to reboot your system, everything else comes back in line. And when that happens, you're a better you. And it makes life fun again.
I just want to say, I want to say something about that, about this greens product, because I've been trying it now for a week.
You got them.
I got them from Tommy. And so I started the greens, and, I just kind of went slowly just to see how it was going to be. But then I just noticed that I was craving it more and more. So I saw that it said 1/3 of a teaspoon, but I thought, 1/3, let's just go to a teaspoon right off the bat. Right.
Yep.
So of course, so I did 1 teaspoon, and then I thought, oh, that was the morning. And then I thought, oh, I think I need to have it around lunchtime. So I had it at lunchtime. So I'm doing it like 3 to 4 times a day. I can't stop myself. It's so good. And I'm just doing
a teaspoon. You're doing a teaspoon every time?
I'm doing the full teaspoon every time. And I can tell you what's happening is that I feel like I'm not craving anything. Like I told my husband, I said, okay, yeah, go out and get this and this and get some goodies so we can have some, cool ourselves. But then he brought it home, and we're looking at that. We're like, oh, we don't want to eat that. Like, you don't want to eat bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
You just want the good stuff. And I woke up 5 o'clock in the morning, actually craving the greens. I have never in my life ever have done that, where I wake up 5 o'clock in the morning thinking about that product, that I should go downstairs and make myself a glass of greens.
And how are you making them? What are you just mixing them with water, or what are you mixing them with?
Yeah, I just put in a glass of water because I can't be bothered taking out my blender, putting the bananas in and all that stuff. I just take it straight, neat, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, I think it's great. And I can tell you that this is like cellular. I think of this as cellular food.
It is
literally feeding your cells. I mean, on such a level, the micronutrient level that you need. I mean, I'm pretty sure that this is why I've really taken, I've like improved like, wow, 100% just from a few days ago.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the 5th one.
Oh, yes.
And the 5th one is really based on, see how I did that smooth transition without even knowing what the transition was? Because
That's because we're thinking the leg.
And that is the beauty of quantum physics. You can be halfway across the world and still connected.
Mhm.
So natural barrier support is the creation of really helping your immune system support this current environment, and really any environment in the past and environment in the future, because immune system function is kind of crucial, right? Because your gut, which science is showing is now proving to be really the most important component, not because of just digestion and whatnot, because of the microbiome, the biome, the virome. And what's so crucial to understand is we have more mold and fungus and bacteria in our body than we do cells, right? We are this amazing city of mold and fungus and yeast and bacteria and parasites, and some good, some bad. And it's about creating that balance. And within that balance, then you have proper function. And then your body needs different things to function ideally. And natural barrier support is designed to help support that. And if you look at a lot of the literature that's been published over the last year and a half as to how to support your immune system, it's kind of funny because the same literature has been published for about, I don't know, 100 years for what your body needs to support your immune system. And that's vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. But what you need are the right amounts, the right combinations, and the right quality of these. So what Christina did in sourcing this is went to a couple labs and said, look, I need the highest quality vitamin C possible. What is it? And it's dehydrated liposomal vitamin C. Why dehydrated? Because water is heavy and it's not needed in products if you have water accessible. Most of us do, right? So you take the ideal version of vitamin C, you take the ideal version of zinc, which is zinc sulfate, and you take vitamin D3 in its ideal form in the right amount. So when you look at the label here, you see that there's in one serving, and let's look at what a serving is. A serving is 1/3 of a teaspoon. That ain't a lot. You know why? Because there's no filler in here. If you notice on the bottom where it says ingredients, there's 3 things. There's vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. That's it. That's all that's in there. Nothing else. So at 1/3 of a teaspoon, and you can look in the middle where it says the number of servings per container, that says 100. There's 30 days in a month. And usually a serving per day is about 1/3 of a teaspoon, because that's giving you 1,500 megs of vitamin C, 40 megs of zinc, and 125 micrograms of the vitamin D. So if you were exposed to some stuff and your body was needing a little bit of assistance, you might use 2. Well, that puts you at like 50 days, which is almost 2 months of a supply. This combination is what's been clinically shown to be the most efficacious in assisting your immune system in fighting off colds and flus.
And it's quite good to use them together as well, because I've got both of them. Actually found it's really gentle on the stomach, because before any other kind of similar products, I couldn't use it. So
And you
Claire's like super sensitive. I just told her today I took 50 drops of clean slate.
you went, what? No,
and
it's
that's really the key. And this is the key component of bioscience engineering.
Yeah.
It's not just the ingredients. It's the combination of the ingredients, because the sum of the parts is more important than the individual pieces themselves. And you have to understand that when you combine the right amounts in the right combination, you get amazing outcomes. You have to think of this like cooking and art, right? Because Christina is an artist. You can see some of the work behind me that she painted. When combined properly, she looks at things in a different manner because she's an artist. And think of it like making a cake, right? If you take farm fresh eggs, amazing vanilla, cricket flour, because you don't want wheat, and you take raw cane sugar, and I don't know what else you use to make a cake. I might be missing something. And you use a couple eggs, right amount of sugar, perfect amount of flour, a little bit of vanilla, a little baking soda. I think you use that too, maybe not. And you mix them up and you make a batter and you put it in whatever tray you want. And then you have your oven at the perfect temperature and you put the pan in there. And after whatever time, 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it takes, you have this amazing cake. You're like, oh, it tastes amazing. As long as it's angel food cake, it's my favorite. Then you need more egg whites. But if instead of doing that, you take a pound of sugar, a pinch of flour, a dozen eggs, and a half gallon of vanilla, and you mix them all up and you throw that in a pan and you throw that in the oven, you're not going to get the same outcomes because you didn't use the right amount. That is the foundation to not just these, but everything that we do, because she understands how to put those things together, because she is not only a formulator, but she's an artist. And this is a fun thing, because when we say comparison, I'll tell you there isn't one.
That's why we're standing alone.
Exactly.
And it is apples and oranges.
Mhm.
And the other thing, Clay, is all the products work really well together.
Nicola made a post in the chat a couple minutes ago, and she said you can live on these.
Yeah.
And yes, you can.
100%.
And everything that is to come, because we're not done yet. And just so everyone here knows, Christina's got over 70 formulations
Mhm.
that she's done. We're not going to use all of them. There's a couple more things coming that all fit in this wheel of greatness. So the goal is, yes, you can live on this stuff. You won't need anything else. You want to go get food? Yeah, you can go get some veggies and go get some good eggs or whatever you want to add into your diet. But as Dory was mentioning, you won't need a lot. You're going to eat because your body's telling you, okay, give me good stuff. And then you'll be a lot more selective, because here's the key. You know how everyone tells you at the beginning of the year when you make your New Year's resolutions, you got to change, or you go to your practitioner, whether it's your healthcare provider, if it's your coach, your trainer, it's like, okay, you need to make these lifestyle changes. You need to do this and this and this and this. And you look at them and you go, okay. And then you don't do it. You know why? Because your body is not in line with the need to do those things. But as you start to clean up this operating system, think of hitting Control-Alt-Delete on your computer. What happens when you reset your operating system and it's able to close down stuff you don't need, put stuff in trash, reboot, and start working again? It comes back online and it functions more effectively. This is what we're doing to you. The lifestyle choices, the desire to go move, that could be go for a walk. That could be exercise. It could be lift weights. It could be go do sports. It could go do activities. Those things happen naturally because they're in our nature to do when you're healthy and happy. You don't get them inverted. You don't do the things to try to find happiness. You have those good choices take place when this system starts to work properly. And then you don't have to fight it. You don't become cringy going, oh, I got to eat that instead of that. Or you look at things and you go, I used to eat that stuff, but it makes me feel terrible now. I don't need that anymore. I only want good stuff. Trust me, for someone who loves food, I will argue there's no one here that loves food more than this guy. I can polish off volumes of food that put people to shame. But I don't anymore because my body's like, you don't need that. Just do this. Have a little bit of that. Rena, you win.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I have a question concerning Clean Slate. Does it bind directly the virus or bacteria or parts of it, or just the toxins they release?
It's a really, really good question. So it's a multi-step answer. When you look, if you do research into clinoptilolite, Clino's actually been shown to bind viral fragments, right? Because a virus in your system comes in as fragments and it'll get in cells and they'll combine and then they'll be transcribed, and then they'll send out other viral fragments to get in other cells, and they'll start communicating with other cells. And what it's been proven to do is through the cages and such is it'll grab onto viral fragments. So it slows down the viral replication process. But at the same time, where it's binding and grabbing onto heavy metals and other environmental toxins that are immune suppressant. So you have a reduction in the viral replication process with an improvement in immune function. So you can see what happens if you slow down of viral replication and improve immune function. Your innate immune system then turns back on properly and can recognize, hey, you're not supposed to be doing these things and we need to eliminate you. Or your body's going to transcribe the information in the virus, and it's going to be able to say, I need this information, I'm going to use it. This information I don't need, and it's going to do it. And over my career, I've seen some really cool stuff happen with like hepatitis C and different things with insanely high viral load. Like you're going to die pretty soon, viral loads. And then in a like short period of time, massive reduction. And that comes down to volume of how much you want to play with and time. So.
Okay, thank you.
And the other question that often comes up is, what is this going to do for me? And here's the correct answer. We have no clue. Because every one of us here, and right now I can see at least 180 plus people, there is 180 unique beings here. The key is our exposure, our genetic makeup, our epigenetic signatures, the places we came from, the womb we came from, every little bit of exposure throughout our entire life makes us who we are. It all makes us unique. And through that process, we all have our own system. You have your own operating system. So when we go back to that Control-Alt-Delete approach, we all have our own operating systems, and those operating systems are individually unique. So the solutions that we need are all the same. How those solutions work within our system vary greatly. Consistent use over time is going to create continual outcomes, because it's like going through layers. I don't know if you've like done a really hardcore, what is it called? Hard drive restructure on your computer. When it does that, it goes layer by layer by layer by layer by layer by layer, analyzes everything, and then starts to shift and adjust and compartmentalize, and then make sure, you know, everything's compressed properly and working properly. It takes time. Your body is the same way. The difference is you've had this thing running since you were conceived, and you've got all of this trash that's built up in you until whatever point you're here. We've got to work to start eliminating that and then adding in good stuff, bringing things back online and working. So over time, you're going to start taking layers off, and you're going to start seeing improvement. And some stuff that you'll see in a day, some things you'll see in a week, some things you'll see in a month, some things you'll see in 6 months, you'll see changes in a year, and on and on and on as things start to adjust and clear out. So.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Clay.
Yes. Thank you.
For taking the call today, and we'll be back next week, same time, same.
Yeah, and we got a precursor to what the conversation for next week is going to be. So if you took
that's just one part of the
One
puzzle.
section.
You know, we like to connect the dots. So you're really going to want to be on this call next week.
Oh, and if you didn't like this one, I don't care. But
everybody loves this call. This was a great call. It's nice to have an overview call.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was good times. We got lots of new people here. So all the people that are here for the first time, or if you're here for the second or third time, we don't love you any less than the people that are here a lot. Welcome to the party.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.